Welcome to the Joanne Avison podcast. In the first episode of this series, we explored how lived experience shapes the body through the fascia. In the second, we explored how the body communicates through subtle perception and sensation. And today we move into something that many people feel but often struggle to find the words or speak about clearly. What people call the energetic body. Not as a belief, not as a theory, but as a lived, embodied experience. So this is not a mental exercise in what we should do or think or feel about things. It isn't even about our default sense of what works, because often that can come from conditioning or beliefs or conclusions we've drawn, rather than from awareness in present time. It's much more of a subtle appreciating of how we are, which is unique. Because for most people, spiritual awakening doesn't begin with ideas. It doesn't really show up as the animated version of a belief or a theory we learned. It begins with sensation, a feeling of movement inside the body, a sort of sense of expansion or softening, or it can be a lightness or a strange, unfamiliar shift in intensity. It can feel like a subtle impulse, more of a whisper than even a sound. And quietly, the question appears. It sort of unfolds or emerges. So what actually is happening in the body in these moments? Before we talk about energy, it's important to remember something very simple. Energy in the body isn't abstract. Energy is. It enlivens us, however we are at that moment in time. What we're deepening here is our inner sense of its expression through us. It's always experienced as change. It may be a very subtle change, a sort of a shift, for example, a change in temperature or a change in tone, a change in pressure or in continuity, a change in how the body relates to itself, or a subtle change in sense or sensing. And it's more of a process than an event, yet it is always in motion through and around us. So we never directly feel energy. We feel the body reorganizing and responding, and every one of those reorganizations is expressed through the fascial matrix. Before we name it, before we analyze it, before we decide the cause, the reason for the cause, or the effect of any disturbance, or judge the how, the why, the what, the when of it, it is. It is happening now in real time. Fascia is not simply connecting tissue. It is a living, fluid, hydrating, responsive matrix that connects every structure with every other structure. It's the largest proprioceptive organ in the body, which means it's the largest organ of self-perception. Fascinatingly, it also emits light and it transmits sound as waves or resonance. Not words, they come after. Not names of dis-ease, that comes after. Not symptoms of labelled conditions. That all comes after and gets applied retrospectively. What we're talking about is an exquisitely complex and intricate web of responsive structural soft matter. We feel all of it, and it feels us. From our embryonic beginnings, where we felt our way into form, to our elder years as we feel our way out of our form eventually, we are at the next day of the same process. The process of perceiving ourselves, perceiving. Proprioception literally means one's own perception, or more accurately, it actually means one's own self-perception. So when we sense ourselves, when we feel grounded, or when we feel coherent, or when we feel something we might describe as whole or relaxed, we're sensing through the fascia matrix organizing itself. And more than that, It's organising itself in a congruent manner with our feelings, our emotions, our bio-emotional intelligence. So fascia doesn't merely hold us together, it allows us to feel ourselves as continuously held. It's all about our balance as a being in all senses. And we talk a lot in health and the healing arts about homeostasis as body balance of our systems. But here we're talking about allostasis, which is body balance, rebalance, restore, the movement to movement, moment to moment, rebalancing as we go about our day. We take it completely for granted. When you were an embryo, nobody assembled you. No one bolted on your limbs. No one wired your nervous system. No one plumbed your vessels. No puppeteer tied strings to your limbs and moved them so you could appear to move. You self-organized. You grew in relationships and relatedness to and with everything of you in relationship. You adapted continuously. You responded to your internal matrix and the DNA organization that suggested your species-specific shapes to become and move. And you activated the patterns that worked in your watery world, all to the tune of your mother's heartbeat, syncopated by your own. That same self-organizing intelligence is still present. And it lives in fascia that constantly responds and reanimates it. Indeed, it's arguable that it lives as the fascia when you really dive deep into the variability and the exquisite sensitivity of this matrix that forms us. Fascia is a soft matter, aware, organic architecture, living architecture that is constantly responding to gravity, to movement, to emotion, to breath, to memory and relationship. It responded to your mother while you grew in your water chamber, and once emerged, it finds its way to the gravitational field that it grows up into, with all that that entails. Always unique, always animating something invisible and animated by it. The spirit of you. No words, no marketing descriptions, no strings, no mental deductions, just you. As spirit in physical expression, animating a physical form and adapting to the world around itself. When people seek to describe spiritual or energetic experiences, they rarely describe thoughts. They tend to describe sensations. They describe movement or openness or lightness or density or expansion or stillness. They often struggle for the right words because sensation is a somatic experience. They use words that feel, and these are not metaphors. They're descriptions of fascial organization changing as a living organism, a conscious living organism experiencing. They look for feelings and they listen for them as memories or revisit them to kind of recognize them and seek to describe the response to them. It's an inner experience, a returning to the time, the place, the sense, the inner feeling they recall. And a spiritual experience is not outside the body. It's the body reorganizing in a way that feels meaningful to itself. In a way, and these are the magic words, in a way that makes sense. Spiritual awakening is often spoken about as something added, something separate from the individual in the process of experiencing. But in lived experience, it often feels more like something has been removed that might have been more like a block that's now out of the way, as if it's unlocked, and that spiritual awakening is emerged from. Less effort, less holding, less resistance, more spaciousness, more softness, more freedom, more continuity. In lived experience, it's not separate. From a fascial perspective, That is exactly what's happening. The matrix itself is reorganizing not toward perfection or any state, but toward coherence, a sense that it makes sense, a sense that it makes sense of. And when we begin to sense ourselves more clearly, we're not analyzing, we're not fixing, we're attending. We're becoming conscious of being conscious. So we can move from pain into perception, from control into curiosity, from being in command into being in coherence, from lost to listening. And fascia responds to listening. It forms itself throughout our bodies in forms that, in a way, all resemble different sections of an orchestra. There are tubes that can open and close in certain places that can be likened to wind instruments, many different kinds of them. There are diaphragms that can be likened to the percussion section of an orchestra, easily related to drum skins. And there are limbs, tendons, bones, rib baskets that can easily be translated into different kinds of the string section of the orchestra as they tune themselves and rely on that tuning for the right resonance. And it's almost like it's listening for it. Because what's fascinating is that when our physical orchestra is in tune with whatever tune it's playing, and the acoustics are good, and we sense harmony, there's joy. In other words, everything is coherent. And when there's coherence, there's resonance. The conductor, the composer, and the players are all working together, and the result is beautiful music, all different kinds of music. A symphony of expressed energy in motion. That's what I call bioemotional intelligence. And when there's disharmony, there's dissonance, and vice versa. And it's so fascinating that sections of music are called movements. And so much goes into the experience of a beautifully played, orchestrated sequence or piece of music. We often describe it as, it was sensational, meaning nothing interrupted or spoiled how enjoyable it was, how coherent it was, how fluent it was. Our sensations in the body might be considered as resonances, places where that sounding shows in us physically. Because a sensation is not fixed. It can be noticed, it can be located, it can be breathed with, it can be stayed with, it can be wondered about. It can soften, it can change, expand or reorganize, not through force, but just through attention. And this is not a technique. It's a relationship with ourselves, and fascia lives in and as relationship, 24/7, 8 days a week, in 361 degrees. Fascia lives in the round, our holographic architecture in all its roundedness. We are not puppets with strings. We are not biomechanical. We are not jointed robots with bending moments at our joints. We are rounded, grounded, and surrounded by the air we breathe moment to moment, without which we die. And that air, that is respiration. It's respirating from one moment to the next. And that spirit animating your you-ness as you is what resonates through your tissue all the time. It was there since conception, and it stays till the moment your body is released by that spirit, when apparently you all weigh 21 grams less than you did the moment prior to your last breath. Everything in the universe moves in spirals. Every strand of fascia is formed in spirals. Each strand a triple helix, formed with two others like a 3-stranded rope made of helical threads. It's a triple helix. It wraps every micro muscle fiber. It links to each neighboring fiber. It is the most ubiquitous tissue in the living body, in any body, meaning it's everywhere. And something like the so-called dark matter of space, the cosmos we rely on for our planet to thrive in, all depending on spiral forms. Galaxies, weather systems, oceans, bloodstreams, the iron in your blood, comes from a dying star, and it moves rotationally. The inner cosmos depends on the outer cosmos, and fascia is where that relationship becomes embodied. And I agree, the name fascia sucks. It's all we have currently to describe this exquisite liquid crystal matrix in all its forms and all of our forms and between them all. You are not separate within yourself or from the universe. You are organized within it and around it. Rounded, surrounded, grounded in it. The microcosm of the macrocosm. The mother matrix, the fascia. Fascia is sometimes called the mother matrix because it holds its relationship with ourselves at every level, physically, emotionally, perceptually, relationally, spiritually, solically, consciously or sleepily. It's constantly reorganizing us into coherence at the most exquisite depth of microscopic detail. That's coherence with ourselves and within ourselves and with Mother Nature, with who we truly are as spiritual beings, long before we have any judgments, long before they even form. And we can explore this briefly. We can look at it quietly. Just simply notice your body, not as a posture, but as a whole, as a continuity, not as parts, but as present. Be present to being present now, here, breathing gently, in through the nose, out through the mouth. Slow it down again, till you notice what is signaling. Don't analyze or correct it. Simply listen to it. Just breathe. Notice the orchestra. What might your body be saying at this moment? What else might you hear? Not the voices in your head so much as the one listening to and hearing them. Just breathe. Just listen. Spirituality is often described as transcendence, but lived, practical spirituality often feels like a deeper inhabiting, more like deepening the presence of being you, feeling more yourself, more inside yourself, more real, more coherent with your original nature. And fascia is what allows that inhabiting to be felt, to be experienced, to make sense of it. It's something like the tissue of belonging. It's all yours. It's all animated by you, your way, the way you do that, as you have since conception. So all that is to say, the energetic body isn't something separate from the physical body. It is the physical body, experienced as continuous, responsive, alive, coherent. And fascia is the interface and the architecture of that experience. It's like the bridge that allows sensation, emotion, perception, and awareness to meet and happen and become the next iteration, the next musical phrase or movement in the symphony of you, together as us in our own unique ways. So, in this episode, we've explored fascia as the medium through which energetic and spiritual experience becomes our embodiment. We've considered how we might awaken into what already is, rather than have to strive to become it. And in the next episode, we're going to explore how this coherence, this congruency, expresses itself as an exquisite and literally geometric organization. How the body reveals its own blueprint through shape, through movement, through relationship, as the most sacred and ancient patterns of nature herself. It's amazing. All this happens according to a pattern that resides in nature everywhere. It's a pattern that all living things, animal, vegetable, mineral, and human, are governed by. It's already deep to our nature. It already is. Thank you so much for staying with this exploration. And if this feels meaningful to you, subscribing will help you stay with the series as it unfolds. And I will look forward to seeing you in the next episode. God bless.